Um, in the last video, we saw how to update all the data for the dashboards. Now what we're going to look at is how to look at the dashboard output file and then check some of the key data from it to make sure it's working right, and then make sure that all of the charts that we have here are up to date and have the right information on them. So first thing we're going to do is just make sure that date is correct. In this case, we're looking for April. Looks like it's correct, so we kind of go through it. First thing we do is we make sure that there are no, just check and look at the summary P&L here and make sure that the numbers that we have here kind of all make sense a little bit. The way to do that really is go again back to our financial statements. And what I like to do to make it easy is I take the income statement, the final income statement, and just make sure that I check a few of the key elements. So what we'll do here is on this one, on the left of these statements, when you use the PDF statements, it's the actual month, and on the right, it's year to date. So if we take the actual month and we want to just check a few things, first thing I like to check is just make sure that the revenue is okay. So then we go back to the output, 82,419. 82,420, that's $1 off. That's not too bad. So I think that's fine. The total departmental expenses, I think actually here they have total department 47,540. Just go through 47,543. If it's a couple of dollars off, it's not the end of the world. Let's just quickly check A&G. So we go into here, check A&G is 10,060, IT is 1258. 10,060, 1258, that's off by one, and then roughly 7,000, 3,000, 5,000, 7,000, 3,000, roughly 5,000. So those are accurate. So overall, I think we check and we make sure it's all accurate. So we'll look then at the bottom line, which is 858. Here we have negative 8063. So there's something worth checking. So we're just going to take a quick, I think 8063 is probably because we have this income tax line that we probably don't track there. So I think it's probably fine. And then, all of these things make sense. So let's check that the EBITDA is 73 before that. So the EBITDA is 69, which is right around there. And then non-operating income expense 1032. We probably just don't have that 800. That's not the end of the world because really, those income taxes and things aren't what's really going to happen, what's really going to affect things. So we really want to get to kind of the EBITDA. And so, this file here shows the variance. So basically we, thought we were budgeting 8,000 of EBITDA, which you'll see here, 7,941. And then basically these are all the impacts. I mean, in this case, it was a pretty bad month for us because we missed with all these red lines. But kind of check that, makes sense. Then we look at the same thing for the trailing 12. It's much more stable over a 12-month period. But again, let's do a quick check. Actually, the trailing 12 is a totally different file. But sometimes let's look at that one. So if we close that, you'll see the trailing one is here. And so we can do, just a few checks to make sure things are right. And it's probably off by a few dollars, but let's say like the trailing 12 revenue, 1.263 million. And so here, 1.263 million, you see it's accurate. So we can just check some of those things. If you wouldn't mind just checking it after we've completed it, just so you know all these things work. Same thing year to date. Year to date was actually on that other file. So if we escape out of here and we go back to the income statement, year to date is on the right here. So if we look at the year to date actual, it should be 382,742. And so let's just check here, 381,411. That's a little bit more variance than I would like, but it's not the end of the world at this point. But we can probably check it by going into one level deeper in rooms. So rooms is 373,061. Rooms is 373,061. That's accurate. Food and beverage 5,935. Food and beverage, that's where the issue is. So there's some issue with food and beverage revenue that we'll have to look at. When something like this happens, just notate it and email it to me once you've put it all in and say, hey, I noticed these issues and it's food and beverage revenue. Let's quickly look at other revenue here. So just tell me like where it is if you see some issues. And so if it's food and beverage, say it's food and beverage year to date, because food and beverage on the period to date was accurate. So again, we have period to date, trailing period to date here, trailing 12 months and year to date, and they're all kind of the same. So there's some issue with the food and beverage revenue, which will mean that the overall EBITDA is probably off by that same amount. But let's take a look at it. So overall EBITDA about 64,000, yeah, 62. So it's all probably in this F&B line, but again, that's pretty close. And a lot of the analysis that we like to do is probably still good, but definitely note it for me so that then I can check it. And then again, check these charts, make sure these charts are looking okay. Yeah, I think we can see visually what's happening. We've done better than last year on a rooms margin basis, but versus budget, we're still a little worse. And here's kind of the impact of it. So then you go through and do the same kind of for rooms. Rooms is a lot more detail here, but again, has an output at the bottom here that we kind of want to look at, seeing what's happening to rooms revenue for year to date, see what's happening in rooms revenue period to date. And in this case, these are not split out, they're just different columns. So the left here is period to date, this is trailing 12, and this is year to date. And I'll show you what these are used for later, but this is kind of how you would go through it and just kind of take a look at it and make sure it's working out. The key areas are really the undistributed, the rooms, and the F&B. And here again, I remember these numbers from when we looked at them before. That looked accurate, which means probably the budget is accurate. And then, here are the variances. Here's what's happening. So there's an issue with utilities because we're way over, and A&G because we're way over, which again was that chart that we looked at. But that's gets into a little more detail on those. So that's how to just check, make sure, this file is accurate and it's up to date. So that's just a quick check of the dashboard output file. Thanks for watching.